Guys, I got one for you today. Today's something that older guitar players, we kind of get tired of doing, and it's kind of a chore. But for you newer guys, you're learning. And learning's what it's all about. And today we're going to talk about changing guitar strings. This is something that must be done from time to time because eventually the strings become what they call dead. They start losing that punch of a sound that they have, and they have a really hard time staying in tune. So that's what we're going to work on today. We're going to cut back and forth. That way you don't have to watch every single bit. But hopefully this will help you when it comes time to change your strings. Alright guys, let's get it done. Guys, like I talked about in the intro of this video, we're going to work on doing some fretboard maintenance, changing some strings on this guitar. This is my Squire by Fender Telecaster. It plays great, but I've noticed a couple things with it recently. I try to keep a guitar in my hand almost every single day, and that's caused me to notice some things with this guitar because it's one of the ones that I play a lot. And one, the fretboard looks kind of dry. I mean, if you just look at it, it just looks like dry wood to me. And I've noticed that I've had some problems with the strings staying in tune as they should. It seems like I'm doing a whole lot of tuning when it comes to these strings. And that's a sure sign that the strings are starting to become dead, overplayed, something like that. Now you'll see on the table some of the things that I'm going to use to make this video. Of course, new strings. I like the Ernie Ball regular Slinkies, which are 10 to 46. I do like these strings. I've used them a lot. That's what is on this guitar now. You'll notice I use a multi-tool, and that multi-tool I use to cut the strings, but I'll show you how I do that. I have a screwdriver up here, Phillips head screwdriver, and the reason I have that is from time to time the guitar is going to need some intonation work. This one did need some. I've already made some adjustments to it, but when you put on new strings, it's always good to redo them again. I may not include that in this video because that would make this video extremely long. You'll see some Dunlop Fretboard 65, which is lemon oil. This bottle is quite a few years old. You can see how much I've used. It lasts a long time, and a really soft terry cloth. And I use that to put the lemon oil on the fretboard and to wipe it back off. Okay, the first thing that we're going to do to start out with is we're going to loosen these strings. They're still at tension. We're going to loosen these strings on this guitar. I'll do a couple up here so you kind of get an idea of how I do it, but I won't make you watch me do all 6 because that just becomes a little monotonous. So hang tight while I get one started. I'm going to move the strings out of the way. Let me get one started. I'm going to loosen them up, and I'll show you how I cut them and remove them. First thing we do is we start to back off the strings. And as you can see by the vibration and how much I can pull that, the string's gotten very loose. We'll do the A string as well. Now I have seen people cut these strings without loosening them. I do not like to do that. I like to loosen them so I can control where they go when I cut them, because I don't want to damage my finish to my guitar and things like that. It seems like to me that if you do it under tension, that string could fling over and hit the pane or something else. I don't want to do that. I want to take care of my gear, okay? So we're going to take our multi-tool. We're going to take one of the strings that we just loosened. We're going to hold the string, put it in between our fingers, and we'll snip it. Now you see it didn't really go anywhere because of the way I was holding it. So this string is ready to be removed. We'll do the A string the same way, between our fingers, and we'll snip it. Now you see there was no damage to my paint. The string didn't fling anywhere. So I'm going to go ahead and remove the rest of the 6 of these strings. We're going to get the fretboard oiled up shortly thereafter, and then we'll start putting the strings back on. But let me go ahead and do the rest of these on this guitar. I don't want you to watch that because that's really boring. But we'll be right back. Okay, so we have all the strings removed from the guitar. There's nothing left to be in our way. GoPro batteries, sorry about that. But everything's been moved out of the way. Now you can see the fretboard, and you can see that it looks a little bit dry. Everything else looks pretty good. One of the first things I always like to do is take that soft terry cloth and give everything a quick wipe down. I mean, it gets a little dusty, it gets a little dirty from playing, and this will help to keep everything cleaned up. It's hard to clean these areas when there's strings on the guitar, so this is the best time to do it. You can see the dust and dirt down here maybe. And that's just from where we play the guitar all the time. So we want to take and we want to kind of clean that up a little bit and get everything pretty, just like it was when it was new. Now, the very next thing that we're going to do is we're going to take the fretboard oil and we're going to moisturize this fretboard. I've had this bottle a while. Give it a little squeeze. It has an applicator on the end. And I would just kind of fill in the blank, kind of like coloring within the blanks. All right, so you can already see how dry that fretboard was. It was extremely dry. Now I've looked at my frets. A little bit of shine to them where the strings are at, but that's because I play the guitar a lot. So we're going to continue to go down the fretboard. We're going to moisturize it. You can see it changing color. You can see it getting the liquid that it needs. It's going to look like a different guitar once we get this done. And this will help to prolong the fretboard and make it last longer. Also, this lemon oil, just like your household lemon oil, tends to clean up dirt and things like that out of the wood. Okay, so let me knock these out real quick. Okay, so you can see that there's a definite change to the fretboard color. This little applicator gets a little bit tough to use down here on the closer together frets, but you can definitely see a change where it's being moisturized, it's getting the liquid that it needs. And it's winter time here in North Carolina, and that usually leads to a dry house and things like that. I try to keep a humidifier going where I store my guitars, just to help combat this reason, especially the acoustics that I have in here. But just to combat this reason, because I don't want anything to damage these fretboards. So now we've gone all the frets. We're going to let that soak just a moment. And once it's soaked in just a moment, we're going to finish tidying up here a little bit. Okay. Now, fretboards have some time to soak that in. So what we'll do is we'll take our soft cloth and we'll just wipe the fretboard down. And you can see the actual wetness leaving the fretboard. So what has soaked into the fretboard will stay and help to moisturize that wood. Pardon that squeaky noise. That's the chair I'm sitting in. I'm sorry for that. Okay, give me just a moment. I'm going to get the strings out, get them ready to go, and I'll be right back with you, and we'll move on to putting the new strings on this guitar. Now, as you can see, or as I told you earlier, I like to use the Ernie Ball regular Slink. These are 10 to 46 gauge strings. This pack is new. However, for some reason, my dog thought this was food, and he tried to hide it under the pillows. You can see the marks where he had it, but he thought it was food. Anyway, the good thing about these Slinky, the Ernie Ball strings that I found, and other brands do this, but a lot of the cheaper ones do not. But the Ernie Balls, they come in that package, which is sealed, and it does have air in it, kind of like a potato chip bag when you get them. And then each set of strings comes wrapped in their own plastic wrapper. Now, the important thing about that is it keeps these strings from oxidizing, otherwise known as rust. And if strings rust, they really go bad quickly. So we have two barriers of protection to keep these from getting moisture in them. As you can see, there's two more sets in here, and they're both individually wrapped in plastic as well. So three different ways to keep the moisture out. But this is a Squire by Fender Telecaster, and the Squire by Fender Telecaster is a through the back design where the strings actually go in the back. They go in the back, they feed out the bridge, then they go up the neck. So it's going to have a little bit different than some guitars may. Some do not have this. Some feed in directly from the bottom of the bridge here and go straight forward. Strats usually go through the back, things like that. One thing to remember if you're new at changing strings is, especially with Ernie Balls, they label the packages. The bigger the number, the bigger the string. So your low E string, which is the thickest, will be the biggest number. The smallest number will be the smallest, which will be the number one string E, which is the thinnest string. And you can see that they are numbered, all packages. So if you get one confused, just go from big to small or small to big, however you do it. I normally do mine big to small, and maybe that's because that's the first one on top of the package. I don't know. So I'm gonna show you the way I do it. It's really simple, really quick, won't take long at all. All right, let's break out the number 46, which is the low E string. Nice thick string, as you can see. Take it out, we'll undo the winding a little bit. Okay, so the string is ready. Okay, now remember I said that my strings feed from the back of the guitar, so we're gonna pick the low E spot, and we have to feed it until it comes through the bridge. Once it comes through the bridge, we're going to take it all the way in. Yep, it's all the way in. And we're going to feed it through the peg. Now, if you'll notice, I don't know if you can see it on camera, but I've lined up all my holes so that I can go straight through every single one of them. None of them are pointing that way, none of them are pointing that way. They're all pointing this way, so my string can go straight through it, okay? Now, what I do that may be different than other people teach is I take my string, I bring it to the peg that it goes through, and then 1, 2, okay? And I put my finger there. Now you see I still have a lot of string back there behind me, but I go to 2, then I back it up until my fingers hit there. Now you can see there's a lot of slack here. This is the way I learned to do it. It may have been by accident, I may have seen it on a video, I don't know. But it makes this easy, it makes it quick. And what happens is the way I'm gonna put this on here, it pinches the string, it pinches the tail end of the string so it doesn't slide. Now remember, your string posts are on this side of the guitar, but your strings line up over here, which means they all need to go that way, okay, that way. If I go this way, they're all gonna be wrong. It's gonna pull wrong, okay? So I'm gonna go that way. And what I do is I still have that spot that I had. I take the string, I simply pull it until it comes like that, and I'm over top of the tail. I'm over top of this one, okay? And once I get it on there somewhat tight, I move this out of the way by putting a small bend into it, and then I begin to wind my string. Now, I've never really had one of the string winder things. Ain't that big of a deal to me. A lot of people use them. I can see where they would be faster, but I can also see where you might miss something while you're doing it if you're just zooming them on there, or you may over tighten your strings, or you may miss a post that's loose or something. So I prefer to do it this way. So it's all, I can feel everything that I'm doing. Now you can see as I'm doing this, I'm keeping my finger on the string here. And what I'm doing is I'm applying downward pressure as I'm tightening that string. Okay, so I'm applying that downward pressure, and what that causes it to do is it causes the strings to stack beside itself as it goes down the post. Okay, so now you can see I have these fingers under here and I was pushing here. So when my fingers start to get tight, snug, that's when it's time to move them out. Ouch. Make sure it's in the cutout in the nut and just continue. You can continue to put pressure here if you like. But, so I'm gonna grab the other camera real quick and I'm gonna take a really close-up shot so maybe you can see what I'm talking about how I don't need a luthier's knot, that it pinches upon itself, and I've never had a string come. See that the way I fit it around there and then I put downward pressure on it, you should be able to see where it's biting upon itself. That first loop went over top of the tail end of the string, and then the rest of it went under the bottom, and they bite on it. And like I say, I've never had one come loose. I've never needed a luthier's knot. And that's all that I do when I change my strings. Some people get in there and they tie the fancy knot, or they do some other crazy stuff. I like this to be quick and simple because I don't like doing it. I'll do it from time to time. I always like the results. I like how it sounds after, you know, it gets new strings on it and whatnot, but man, it's a pain in the butt to do. So I'm not crazy about doing it. So I want it to be quick and easy. Only thing that I do that I haven't showed you from this point forward is I take the tail and I clip it. That's all that I do. And a lot of times I'll take and bend that downward. If it's not too far from the string, I'll bend it downward, and that's to keep me from poking my finger. I do hope that helps you when it comes to changing your strings on your guitar. This one needed it. They were going dead on me real bad. It was causing me a lot of tuning issues. Sorry the video was a little bit longer than it needed to be, but I wanted to make sure you guys got the gist of how I did everything. If you have any questions, drop them down there in the comments. Please feel free to like and subscribe. That way you'll know the new videos come out, and we're going to try to keep these lessons coming. Thanks guys. I'll see you on the next video. Bye bye.